The Secrets of Let's Science is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit givestarquest.com.
3, 2, 1.
We live in a universe of scientific wonders.
Every day, scientists are inching towards breakthroughs which can change our lives.
We're playing our small part in sharing these wonders with you.
That's why today is a fine day for science.
So let's science.
So, Caroline, today we've talked about drop bears and all kinds of things in Australia that supposedly drop out of trees. Some of it of questionable, truth. But this one is true.
Yes.
This is the story of the drop croc. Of anything to drop out of a tree, a crocodile probably isn't one of them. Yeah. So tell us about the fascinating story of the drop croc.
Yeah, that's right. So today we're talking about ancient crocodiles that dropped out of trees. What?
Australia.
Australia. We love it. So today we're traveling back to the beginning of the Eocene era, which was about 55 million years ago. So we're going to look at a microscopic discovery that holds the key to the reproductive secrets of an entire family of extinct, so they're extinct Australian predators, the Mecosine crocodilians. So this work was published in the Journal of Vertebrate Paleontology in November 2025, and it describes the finding of the oldest crocodilian eggshell ever found in Australia. So these eggshells were found in a place called Murgon in southeastern Queensland. And just think, during the Eocene period, the landscape was quite different how it is today. So Australia was still drifting away from Antarctica, and the climate was warm, it was humid, and it was dominated by lakes and swamps. So it was this lakey, swampy environment, and it was described geologically as the Oakdale sandstone deposits. So this site, famous for its Tingamara local fauna, it's actually like a time capsule filled with evidence of our ancient species. So some of those were including mammalian giants, marsupial ancestors, so just think of the ancestors of the kangaroo and the koala. There were snakes, there were turtles, and they also say that we had the first songbirds. So they think that maybe before we moved away completely as Australia, the first songbirds were coming to life at this time. So pretty cool time, I reckon, for lots of species to be around and to be evolving and differentiating and all of that. So pretty cool.
Yeah. I think we recorded an episode on giant wombats.
We certainly did.
Yeah.
We certainly did. So this includes that kind of thing there. So pretty cool. But when I heard about drop crocodiles, I really thought we need to talk about these guys.
It is a Let's Science Catholic of Oz topic for sure, yeah.
Very much so. So as I mentioned, we're talking about the Mecosines crocodilians. So unlike modern crocodiles, which are mostly in the water, so they live in the water, these Mecosines actually occupied a variety of ecological niches. So fossil evidence points to small Mecosines that were highly terrestrial and possibly semi-arboreal, meaning they climbed trees. So scientists involved in the eggshell research have proposed the nickname drop crocs for these extinct reptiles, suggesting that, like leopards, they may have ambushed their prey by dropping out of trees in the forest canopy. So imagine that. You're walking along, happily enjoying nature. Oh, the birds. Look, there's a wombat. Look at the kangaroo. Oh my gosh, there's a crocodile on my head. Okay.
Or there's a crocodile eating my head.
There's a crocodile chewing on my ear for some reason, right? Okay. So there goes the serenity. So this behavior helps illustrate a key point. So before modern saltwater and freshwater crocodiles arrived in Australia, the Micosukines faced no competition from other crocodilians. They were free to evolve into every shape and size, filling niches now occupied by large lizards or mammalian predators. This means that 55 million years ago, the Tingomara forest, you had to be aware of crocodiles everywhere, not just at the water's edge like we do today in certain parts of northern Australia. So I think people know that if you visit northern Australia, the crocs are most likely in the water, so you've got to be careful. But in those back 55 million years ago, the crocs were in the water and also in the trees. So, yeah. So some Micosukines, like one called Quincana, developed a distinct zyphodont or blade-like tooth structure, suggesting they hunted on land like mammalian carnivores. Others were short-faced dwarfs, while others, like the genus Baru, were semi-aquatic. And this lineage dominated Australia until being succeeded by modern crocodilians much later in time. So the Tingomara site is home to fossilized bones of two species of early Micosukines, the Kambara murogenesis and Kambara implexidens. These were dominant crocodilians living and reproducing in the area. So paleontologists have speculated that the abundance of tiny hatchling bones and eggshell fragments mean that this area was mostly a nesting ground. So these eggshells were further studied. So they found 12 fossil eggshell fragments, and they were collected from a specific clay layer at Mergon, which they call the distinctive purple layer. So the researchers didn't just look at them, but they also performed a deep technical dive. So they made petrographic radial thin sections, which are delicate slices, just like 30 micrometers thick, thinner than a human hair. So they could examine the shell's internal crystal structure under polarized light. They also used a scanning electron microscope to reveal the ultrastructure and surface morphology, so how the eggshell would have looked. And this is the level of detail which is needed for a precise scientific classification of the shells. So they really had a good look at it. So what the analysis confirmed was that these fragments don't fit any known crocodilian eggshell type, so they are structurally distinct, and therefore they represent a brand new scientific classification, a new genus and species, which is the formal scientific name for a fossil egg type.
And also easy for us to be fascinated and go, ooh.
Ooh, exactly. Very good.
That was just time to break things up with a dad joke. That's all. Yep.
Very good. So what the eggshell microstructure indicated what these were was these crocodiles most likely nested along the edges of the lake and adjusted their reproductive strategies as conditions in the area changed over time. So over time, the inland waterways actually dried out. And as these crocodiles moved into smaller waterways, they would have had to compete with newer crocodile species in these environments and would have had to contend with a decline of prey. So also, these new species of crocodile have been named the Waka Lithus, God Elpi. The name honors the Waka First Nations people of the region, using the term Waka alongside the Greek suffix Ulithus for stone egg. And then the name honors the name of the researcher Henk Gordelp, a key figure in the discovery and interpretation of the Tingomara fauna. So there we have it, a previously unknown species of crocodiles that used to climb trees and drop on prey. And as much as I'm for the preservation of species, I'm a bit glad that there aren't crocodiles that jump out of trees onto prey anymore.
A bit of a relief, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm guessing, imagine like a crocodile that obviously my head thinks of a crocodile today, right? That would not be capable of climbing a tree. So it must have looked very different to what we understand now.
Yeah, I guess the structure would have been it would have probably had claws that could, help it climb into trees and body shape that helped it to like jump out and grab onto prey. So yeah, for sure. Yeah.
As long as they don't discover that there were flying crocodiles next, we should be okay.
Well,
just
maybe.
Swooped from tree to tree or something. Or...
We do have, what do we have? Like those, what do we have? Those little possums that fly from
not flying foxes,
not flying fox.
No.
Oh, we should know, shouldn't we? We saw them the other day at the sanctuary.
That's right. Yeah. It's all.
They do fly from tree to tree, and they so who knows what could have been around.
Not a sugar glider.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the one? Yeah.
Sugar glider.
It took me about 30 seconds
That's the
to know
one.
what that was.
Yeah.
We did an episode on mind blanks and they're good things, we decided. So that was good.
Yeah, so those are like, they look like little tiny little possums, but when they open up their arms and legs, they have like, say, imagine like, not a bat wing, but it's like they've got like a structure that helps them to parachute and glide from tree to tree branch, which is amazing. So that's just a remnant of evolution over time from our species to now. Isn't that cool? I think that's amazing. So
I just wonder, like, so with modern crocodiles now, so I went to Australia Zoo in 2024, which was really cool. So in Queensland, right? So up north in Queensland, not the north place, but still north.
Still pretty north, yeah.
There's much further north that you can go. Yeah. But when we were there, obviously it's the place that was created by Steve Irwin and his family, and so there was a crocodile show, and so all of the Irwins, obviously sadly minus Steve, were there, and with the crocodile show they brought out a giant crocodile, so he swam in on his own time, and they showed firstly how it has a burst of energy from the riverbank onto the riverbank to try and catch prey. So it looks for prey on the riverbank, and when it sees what it wants, it will burst out and it will try and catch it with its jaws. But after it's used that burst of energy, it won't attack again. It needs to go back in the water and do that burst. And so what's Steve Irwin's son's name? I keep forgetting.
Robert.
Right, yeah, Bob or Robert. Yeah, Robert Irwin. So he demonstrated this. So the crocodile came out and it was just sitting on the grass there, and he demonstrated by lying down in front of it.
Wow.
Like, even though he lay in front of it, the croc wasn't interested in him at all.
Oh my God.
Because it couldn't surge after him. It was quite slow after that. So I wonder if these tree crocs, if like they would jump out of a tree or whatever it was, but then that was it. If they didn't catch their prey, they'd have to climb again and and wait for the next thing to come along.
Yeah, that's interesting to think about, isn't it?
Yeah. I just thought that was interesting. Like if that behavior had continued genetically or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, evolutionarily. Yeah. And it's cool. I went to Ballarat Wildlife Park where they now have a really large crocodile there as well. And we went there as a family, and there was this really long crocodile, like it's really massive, just sitting in the tank of water there and just really still, but like with its mouth open. And they do that behavior as well. So they look like they're not moving, and it's like, oh, is it asleep? Is it a log? Is it from the top? You can't really tell, but they just sit there and they don't move. And then the idea is that when a prey comes along, they just snap at it, right?
Yeah.
But my husband was like, that's not real. I'm like, that's real. I said, you watch. That is real. It's like, nah, that's a fake one. That's like, it's not real. It's not real. And then all of a sudden it moved. And he's like, oh my gosh, it's real. Because it really sat still, completely still for so long.
And some of them are massive. Yeah.
This was meters long. And I don't know how wide it was. It was so huge. But I don't know how big these tree crocodiles were.
Yeah, that's what I wonder. Yeah. I wonder how big that would be, because some of our crocodiles are quite hefty, like they're quite large and heavy.
Probably not so big because they would have had to climb the trees. And if lizards fill their niche these days, maybe they might have just been that size. But goodness, it's fun to think about.
It is. Yeah. No, it's very cool. So here in Melbourne, and I'm sure there's an equivalent in the United States and other places, but here in Melbourne, we've got the aquarium, the Melbourne Aquarium.
Yeah.
And they've got the giant crocodile there. And so you can go and see for yourself, right? But you can actually walk above it. They've got a platform that's made of glass. Yeah. So that you feel like there's nothing underneath you, but you can, and you're just standing above this giant crocodile. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
They are an amazing species. Yeah.
They are. There's one in Dubai as well. They've got like a giant Australian. Yeah. So 2006. I sound like a jet setter. I'm really not. But I've just been fortunate to go to a couple of places from time to time. But in 2016, we went there and we were surprised at their aquarium that they have, it's an Australian crocodile that was brought over from Australia, and he's massive.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think people are fascinated by crocodiles, scared of them, but fascinated at the time because they're like I mentioned, they're a really ancient species.
Yeah.
And you can see the ancient in them. How it's an amazing thing. And seeing their teeth and seeing how big they are and their scales. Yeah. You don't want to be near them, but they're really cool.
No, yeah. I'm really curious as well now, thinking about this, about comparing like our crocodiles to like American alligators now, just to, how they're similar or different or related.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And even more, like I wonder if now, like say American alligators, what their prehistoric family looked like if they had any tree, tree gate.
I know, right? And I think their snouts are round, whereas saltwater crocodiles like got a pointy snout. So yeah, like they would have developed for different reasons in their area. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's some homework for your next science topic, Caroline.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, if anyone who's listening is fascinated by crocodiles or alligators or their tree cousins, we'd love to hear from you.
Let's Science is brought to you by StarQuest Media and is a fortnightly podcast that brings you the scientific wonders of our universe from a distinctly Catholic point of view. For more from Caroline, Lindsay, and friends, listen to the StarQuest show, Catholics of Oz. Find links from today's show at sqpn.com/science. And find the Catholics of Oz at sqpn.com/Oz. Be sure to follow the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you can find podcasts, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. The generous donations of our patrons at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue Let's Science and all the shows at StarQuest, which makes our nonprofit mission possible. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Join us next time for more scientific wonders, and thank you for listening to Let's Science on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy, The Secrets of Sacred Art. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at starquest.fm/art.